I'll call the meeting to order. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Allen.
Present.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Present.
Councilmember Kerr. Here. Councilmember Martin.
Present.
Councilmember Parmet.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Mayor Riley.
Here.
There are 7 members present.
Thank you. Will you please stand for pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And first item is approval of the agenda. Were there any agenda items any council members wanted to remove? If not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Now we have an opportunity for communications to council. And if anyone who's in the audience or online would like to speak to council, now is the time. You have 3 minutes. If you're in the room, just line up behind the podium. And if you're online, just raise your hand. Does anyone like to speak to council? Is there anyone online who would like to speak? That's the case. Communications to council is closed. And now we come to the consent agenda. And would anyone, does anyone want to have something removed from the consent agenda, or can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Councilmember Sullivan.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. The next item is the second reading of ordinance 26-0-01. And will the clerk please read the title into the record?
Ordinance 2026-0-01, an ordinance of Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, setting compensation for Town Council and providing for annual cost of living adjustment.
The public hearing is now open, and the way this public hearing is going to be conducted is I will ask the town manager to present the ordinance. That will be followed by questions of the council members, of the town manager and staff. After the questions are completed, I'll then open the floor for public comment. After public comment is completed, we will then, I'll close the public hearing and the council will go into deliberation. So
Mr. Mayor, may I interrupt you?
Yep.
I would like to ask advice from our lawyer on how to phrase this. But given that I am up for re-election and appointment and the election has been canceled, I think that there's a perception of impropriety that would preclude me from preclude me, and I believe that Councilwoman Kerr is saying and her from voting in this. And I would just like the town attorney to legalese that for me, please.
Sure. Yep, definitely. So under the town's code of ethics that you adopted in 2025, there's a provision under Division 3, which Section 2, which is called appearances of impropriety discouraged. And let me just explain what that is. An appearance of impropriety arises when a public servant is expected to take or may take direct official action that, while not amounting to a formal conflict of interest, could reasonably be perceived as compromising the public servant's integrity, impartiality, or competence. If the public servant believes that their involvement may create an appearance of impropriety, they are strongly discouraged but not required to recuse themselves from the situation. So I think that Councilmember Hagenow has said that you have an appearance of impropriety in this situation.
I would like to recuse myself from this discussion. Simply like, can't comment that, but I would like to recuse myself from this.
All right. Councilman Kerr.
I would too, which doesn't sound very formal. When we voted last council meeting to move this forward on the first reading, council member Hagenow and I anticipated that we were going into a competitive election and it was still up in the air. Now we know it's not. So I would recuse myself for the same rationale. Thank you.
I would also second that as the rationale I'm recusing myself for.
Thank you. In that case, I'd ask you to please depart the room and go to the library, and we will call you back in when we've completed the discussion.
It's a hot seat again.
With that, would the town manager please provide a presentation of the ordinance?
Okay, this is the second reading of an ordinance that will adjust the pay for the mayor and the town council members. The ordinance is in line with the requirements of the town charter, which allow for such adjustments. When the original pay was set out at $1,000 a month for the mayor and $500 for a council, that pay range was compatible with the other communities around here. And $500 could have afforded to pay for a babysitter for 10 to 20 hours a week that or a month that you need it. It really doesn't cover it anymore. That's why most of the other communities have adjusted their pay. The proposal in this ordinance is to adjust the mayor's pay to $1,325 a month, plus an annual cost of living adjustment up or down, depending on the September consumer price index in the Denver Lakewood area, is published by, I believe it's the Bureau of Labor, the federal government, and $750 a month, plus an annual cost of living adjustment for council members. This puts us pretty much on par with most of the other towns in Summit County. The cost of living adjustment will hopefully make it a moot. We won't have to go through this type of exercise or discussion 5 years from now when $750 isn't anywhere near what it is today. So are there any questions, staff?
Any questions? Let's hear it.
Real quick, when specifically, like, let's pick on the mayor's, 1325 plus COLA, when would that next COLA bump happen?
It will happen in January of next year, except in the case of this specific mayor here, because the mayor is not up for election for 2 years. He is not eligible. Anyone who's not standing for election, 3 of our council members here, will see no benefit unless they stand for election and win. At the point when, assuming the mayor runs in 2 years and wins, his pay will be adjusted, including the cost of living adjustments as it goes forth.
So along those lines, in the example of like a council person who is elected in April, that 750 starts then.
Yes. Yep.
And the
COLA will start next January.
In following with the 2 council members who recuse themselves because they are candidates for election this cycle and the election has been canceled, the remainder of the people voting will not receive that increase until they face election in 2 years.
That is correct.
Any other questions? All right, with no other questions, I will now open the public comment period. And again, if anyone would like to speak on the topic, please step forward to the podium or raise your hand if you're online. State your name, where you live or work in Keystone, and you have 3 minutes. Would anyone like to speak? See no one in the room. Is there anyone online? In that case, I declare the public comment period closed. And does council have any more questions for staff?
One question. I understand we had limited communication from the public. One,
Yes, I've seen one communication. That person was opposed to the pay raise. Didn't really specify why he was opposed, felt his tax burden was too high. There was a bit of confusion in the letter. For instance, he was complaining that his property tax has gone up 20%, which has absolutely nothing to do with the town of Keystone. We don't even have a property tax.
In fairness, I had a follow-on communication with that individual. The individual was, when I explained to the individual of what the other municipalities have done and the ability to get young residents in this community to become members of the council, he removed his objection from the bump in salary. What he still objected to and remained was the automatic cost of living increase. He felt that should be coming back to council every time. It shouldn't be put on autopilot regardless of the town's finances.
And to just be clear on that, it's not an increase, it's an adjustment. So it could be up.
You can argue one way or the other.
Oh, no,
Mr. Town Manager. You can argue one way or another, an increase or an adjustment is in fact an increase from a budgetary standpoint.
No, Your Honor, if the CPI goes down like it did 3 years ago, the adjustment would be a down.
When was the last time you had a CPI go down?
3 years ago. So I just want to be clear for the record that this is not.
I was stating what his concern was. All right.
Yeah.
Are there any other discussions? Councilman, or any other questions? No. All right. Without any other questions, I will declare the public hearing closed and we're open for discussions on the ordinance.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilman Permit.
I think this is a well-considered and researched and necessary adjustment that both honors the time of the people serving the public and helps us to attract a wide variety of representative council members from this community. And that's what we seek. And this will help accomplish that.
I was going to say very similar things, that we were facing an election. Disappointing that we didn't have quite as many. I think part of that is the contribution of what they pay. And just for the record, people see us in these meetings twice a month. The reality is most of us are all on other county and town committees, and the hours spent are dramatically more than what is represented in 2 evenings a month. So I am understand the concern of the constituent, but I am in favor of this proposal.
Other discussion? Likewise, to Councilmember Sullivan stated, I have the same concerns. I believe that it's important to provide adequate compensation, particularly for council members. There is a tremendous amount of hours that all the council members expend. And it's important for us to be able to attract a cross-section of the entire demographic of Keystone for membership in the council. So I strongly support this as well. Any other discussion? In that case, I'll call the question. And will the clerk please call the roll?
You need a motion.
Oh, I thought we had a motion.
I don't think we have a motion yet.
Go ahead.
I move to approve ordinance, make sure this is right, 2026-001. It's an ordinance, town council, Keystone, Colorado, setting compensation for town council and providing for annual cost of living adjustment.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any last discussion? Then I'll call the question. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Allen,
Approve.
Councilmember Martin,
Approve.
Councilmember Parmet,
Approve.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Approve.
There are 5 votes to approve.
And will someone please retrieve our council members?
Chief is doing it.
Yes.
Good.
The next item on the agenda is the model traffic code. Will the town manager please provide the presentation?
Yeah, so kind of feel like the Texas legislature here with the police bringing our. So the town adopted the model traffic code just about 2 years ago, which set speed limits based upon, it didn't individualize any of our streets. It set our speed limits based on, as is stated in the model traffic code, which is generally 30 miles an hour. The ones that applied to us were 30 miles an hour in a residential district. And really, that's the only one that truly applied to us out of the model traffic code. We have some roads that in our residential districts that clearly should not have 30 mile an hour speeds. Among those generally are 2 types of roads that we've identified: non-paved roadways in a residential district, which is really only the Loveland Pass Village and Zone area, and then a little bit as you head up Keystone Gulch Road. And another area is paved roadways that generally only have one used ingress or egress. Our cul-de-sacs, we have some of our residential streets, which might have a secondary egress, but it's not used for all intents and purposes. When we discussed this at our last meeting, at the recommendation of our attorney, it was thought that we should straight up provide an exhibit as part of the ordinance, calling out the individual roads and how these categories would impact the speed limits on these individual roads. It would eliminate any confusion or questioning if someone chose to contest a speed limit. I do have to point out in the exhibit, I did make a mistake and I included Wild Irishman Lane, which is a private road. It's not a public road. That should be taken out of the exhibit. Some of these roads, Tennis Club Road, St. John Road, there are small sections of public road on those roads, even though large segments of those roads are privately owned properties. But the speed limits will apply to our publicly owned right-of-ways. Pretty much sums it up. The ordinance now includes Exhibit A as part of the ordinance, but also still includes the new categories. So if we have additional roads that come in that fall under one of those categories, there will be a speed limit assigned to that based upon this ordinance if it's approved. Are there any questions?
I know we had emailed about this, but just like in case anyone's referencing this later, in the background section, it states the attached map shows these roads in reds, referring to previous county-owned right-of-ways. I believe that there's not an attached map. Is that?
There is not an attached map.
Okay. So just
I
in case
apologize.
anyone's looking, it's not there.
Yeah, and you let me know that, and I read, and I still didn't see the sentence after you emailed me. So now I see it. Yes, there is no attached map. The exhibit is the written exhibit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the second point that I had a question on, the Wild Irishman Road is the same speed limit as Soda Ridge Road, as well as Keystone Ranch Road. I was questioning that merely because Wild Irishman Road has two distinct right angle turns that are pretty different, I'd say, in structure and navigability than Soda Ridge and Keystone Ranch. So I was either wondering if we could reduce Wild Irishman Road or increase Soda Ridge Road and Keystone Ranch Road to be 35 miles an hour instead of 30. Or maybe even just propose Keystone Ranch Road only to be up to 35 since there's sparse, if any, residential areas on that road.
Well, the stretch of Keystone Ranch Road that it would apply to is just in the town. So that's stables, the purchasing warehouse, a couple of driveways. There's a lot of ingress into that little stretch of road. I agree, once we hit the county.
35, yeah.
But we don't have any.
Okay.
So, and actually, I'm not sure what the speed limit is in the county section of that road. But I do agree with Wild Irishman.
Yeah, like, and I guess what I'm getting at, like, that was just one proposal. I don't really care either way. It's just they seemed like two different characters of road, one with two sharp right angle turns and one with more or less a straight shot. Yes, there's driveways and people are going onto that road, but they didn't seem they should be in the same bucket.
Councilmember.
More than two hard turns on that road.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely do not agree with the idea of increasing this Soda Ridge. Many people who live along there have asked me to look into speed control on that, so that would be going the wrong direction. I don't see a need for a change, but it's people slow down because you have to because of those hard turns. I would vote for signs about the hard turns.
And we can adjust any of.
I have a question, point of clarification from the town attorney. We've defined in the ordinance the types of roads that would have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. I believe by the definition, and while I strongly support 25 miles an hour for Wild Irishman Road, but by the definition, do we have a problem with lowering that to 25 since it does not have since it's a circular road and goes out on Soda Ridge in two places?
Basically doesn't meet the definition.
Right, yeah, does it?
Okay.
I think under 2K, and
Yeah.
it says the exhibit stands regardless of any other provisions.
Yes. Yeah. But regardless, I think it's good that provision there.
But that doesn't give us any problem. Good.
Yeah.
Councilmember Parmet.
Can I get some clarification on two areas? First, Hanson Road, East Hanson Road, and Meisel Drive. Would those fall under the 10 or the 25?
called out.
They're all called out at 10.
Okay, they're called out at 10. And then way back in Antlers, what is the Antlers speed limit in that zone?
That would be a 30-mile-an-hour in Antlers.
Antlers isn't on your list.
Antlers is not on my list. I don't know how I left that off. I meant to make that at 25. I'd recommend if you want to approve this, you move adding Antlers as a 25-mile-an-hour.
Why 25 and
Because-
not 20?
It's incredibly dense.
You can,
Okay, so
yeah,
there's no.
I didn't put any 20s out there. So I didn't put any 20s, but at 25, because under the model traffic code, it's 30.
Sorry.
Yeah. So and I'm sure Chief would
And were you-
support me.
Were you proposing something different for way back? Councilmember Parmet?
Yes.
Currently it's 25 on this exhibit.
I guess I have a little concern because like when I drive over to my friends there, like the idea of going 25 on that road with a driveway every 5 to 10 feet and kids playing in the road seems scary.
Would anyone be supportive of 10 miles an hour for way back in Antlers Gulch? I mean, that seems like the same type of road as Hanson and Level Pass, in my opinion.
I think for way back, it would be appropriate. And then for Antlers Gulch, my primary concern is the very sharp turn right before the intersection there.
Yeah, I could be supportive of 10 for both of those. And I think that would definitely support the constituents over in Antlers Gulch, whoever have expressed a lot of concern about speed. But again, I go back to the attorney to ensure that since the definitions for 10 miles an hour don't even come close to what we're doing here, does that create a problem?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I think that maybe I'd work with John on tightening up the language just a little bit better, but I think that that's fine. You don't have to necessarily, you're not tied to these definitions.
Any other questions? Councilmember Kerr.
So have you estimated how many new speed limit signs will be required and what the cost will be, just so we understand what we're voting for?
Have not estimated.
Do you have any idea what the cost of a sign is?
Most of these places need to be signed anyways.
True.
So
So it's a wash. We'd be paying for it one or the other. If you could come back to us next council meeting and let us know that would be helpful.
And what's the reason that they were not signed before? Does the county have different responsibilities or liabilities in signing this, or is just a
different priority in how much they were concerned about enforcing speed.
In other words, there's no requirement to sign each of these roads,
as long as you have a base that's like,
as long as you have the policy established.
Well, that doesn't help the driver though.
Understand?
Yeah.
I'm stating facts are.
You're just saying legally. And I'm saying common sense is we let people know what we're holding them accountable for, yes?
I would question whether we.
I understand.
I would question whether we would want to put a sign on a cul-de-sac that's 100 or 200 feet long.
I would agree.
Yeah.
But clearly the origin of some of these conversations was with the questionable signage in Loveland Pass Village and our intent to make it legally appropriate.
And I can tell you what a sign costs right now, if you'll give me a second.
one of the things I've seen successful in other communities I've personally driven through as a driver, right, is at the entrance or the main thoroughfares to communities is posting a sign that says, unless otherwise posted 25 miles an hour or something like that. And so that might be a good way to get around the 100 cul-de-sacs.
Councilmember Solo.
And I want to cause a stir here by saying, but just, I'm one for simplicity. 90% of these are either 25 or 30. Should they all be 25? We're all 30. Because then you have consistency with, I mean, people know what in town, it's always X. I mean, right now we're you know, it's just not simple. It's a bit confusing because all over town would be a different speed limit.
Yeah.
Well, I
Most of the
think,
town would be 25.
I think
Yeah.
all the changes are for specific reasons. So,
And a sign and a post is approximately $100, a little under $100.
I thought I'd put that out there. Back to the councilman's comment about one sign when you enter town, it's all 25.
Well, most of the time, it's 25 unless otherwise posted. And so you would be 25, and then for the 1, 2, 4, 30-mile-an-hour, you would post. Definitely post. You could consider some 25s.
Yes.
And for the 10 miles an hour, we definitely want to post.
Well, we'll pound through the manual of uniform traffic control devices and see exactly what the requirements
okay.
are.
Another road that caught my attention was Tennis Club Road being at 30 miles an hour. Again, another highly densely populated area with navigation concerns, right? When ice happens and all that kind of stuff. I would also advocate for that to be at 25. Just helping Dan's argument here.
Any objections to that?
Is there an issue for any of the buses?
I would argue
on
they
their
should be going.
schedule? Yeah, I agree. I'm just asking, do you think there would be
No, I don't.
implications for
I don't
the
think so,
schedule?
especially the way they run as they're coming down to what's our actual public right of way there is when they're coming to the intersection.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a motion if you'd like to entertain one.
Well, one more. I was waiting for everyone else.
100%.
There's another typo. Soda Ridge Road East is really Soda Ridge Road, I believe.
There's one more typo that I was just made aware of. Razor Drive is spelled wrong.
What?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Isn't that?
Rich soul.
Razor Drive and Razor Court.
Yes.
With that, any other comments anyone would like to make? With that, I'll recognize Councilmember Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maddie Strappin. I move to approve 2026-0-2 with the following amendments: to reduce Wild Irishman Road to 25 miles per hour, to reduce Wayback Road to 10 miles per hour, to reduce Antlers Gulch Road to 10 miles per hour, to reduce Tennis Club Road to 25 miles per hour, to accurately spell and adjust roads as needed, including but not limited to Soda Ridge Road East and Razor Drive spelling, and to remove Wild Irishman Lane from the list of consideration due to its private nature.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
And just to be clear, that's on first reading.
On first reading, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought that was the 8th bullet point.
Could I offer a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Instead of just reducing Antlers Gulch Road to 10 miles an hour, to add Antlers Gulch Road at 10 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
Yes. Yes.
And way back.
Way back.
He concluded way back.
Got it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seconded. In that case, I will call for a vote. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Hagenau,
Approved.
Councilmember Kerr,
Approved.
Councilmember Martin,
Approve.
Councilmember Parmet,
Absolutely.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Approved.
Councilmember Allen,
Approved.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 7 votes to approve.
Thank you.
So You just changed this to first readings?
It
was first reading.
Oh, then I wrote it down on my notes, sorry. And so when we see it next week,
it'll be modified.
perfect, thank you.
And any other changes that they made, because I believe you're also, the staff is going to look at the tightening the language in that one area, and that should be highlighted to us. With that, the next item is resolution 2026-06, a resolution of the town council, town of Keystone, conditionally approving funding for the Soda Creek Habitat for Humanity project. And before I turn it over to the town manager, I'd just like to recognize we have some visitors. We have a member of the Housing Authority here this evening, our Housing Department here this evening from Summit County. We have Jason Dietz, a board member on the Habitat Board of Directors, and we have Owen, who is the executive director of Habitat for the local chapter. So with that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
And I will turn it over to our community development director, Lindsay Hirsch.
So before I get started, I would like to note the fact that the memo that you got in your packet, it's short, clear, concise, and accurate. Why? Maddie did it. So with that being said, I'm going to hit the highlights. January 27th, we heard a presentation from Habitat. There were some questions raised with regards to how all the numbers added up. In your packet, you have an attachment that certainly answers and breaks down all the questions that were asked at that meeting. With that, staff is, we've included 3 conditions, a conditional approval. The first of which is construction commencement, tie the commitment to actually moving of dirt. The second of which would be make sure that all the funding is secured. I think that was a significant concern of council at the last meeting. Want to make sure that this could really happen before we commit the $250,000. And last but not least, one of the main reasons we are looking at assisting in the funding for the $250,000 is we get one of the units will have a deed restriction on it that gives us priority for a resident, not resident, employee working in the town limits. So staff is recommending approval conditionally with those 3 conditions. And do you have any questions for staff? If you do.
And actually, if I can add one more point, I did receive an email from the county manager earlier today. The county has budgeted $1 million for this project. They're in the same boat as Dylan, and we are, though they are not going to commit that money until they're sure the project is
Secure.
Exactly.
With that answer, is our $250,000 deeded?
Right. And yet, perhaps we still want to do it. What does that not mean?
The math. What's the math?
Did the county manager say up to 100 as
They have that.
up to $1 million is needed or what?
No, up to $1 million is budgeted. I'm not committed.
Okay.
Just a hypothetical, and not saying I want to support this. If we say no, is the project still going to go forward because of that money?
I don't know because that's not committed.
Councilmember Kerr.
I have 2 questions about the county. I don't know if I asked you or our guests. The first one, we left it off last time that that the county would need to approve the Keystone priority. Have they?
Not yet.
Have
No.
they indicated at all what their leaning might be?
No.
So that's still up in the air.
Yes.
The second, just for curiosity, the staff memo refers to 100,000 from the county for, quote, bringing the project through entitlements. What does that mean?
So there's certain steps that need to be made in order to secure the approval, if you will. So a site plan approval
Okay.
with the plan commission that this went through at least once, if not twice, if not more. That would be an entitlement. Securing that the property has sufficient utilities to serve the intended use. That would be part of the entitlement process.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and because what I read into this, I had a similar question, is it's like staff and county time that went into the process that a normal developer would have to pay a fee for.
Yes.
Oh.
And they did that.
The county paid on that.
For the architectural drawings.
Okay, thank you.
I did have another question. So really loved the detail of the deed restriction, right? I kept writing questions, and as I read further, I was like, oh, answer that, answer that, answer that. The one I didn't, and this is just maybe my understanding of deed restrictions, is that tied to a specific unit? So like unit A is the Keystone deed restricted one. And so if the other 4 sell every 2 years, right? And unit A, just somebody moves in and they really love it and they don't want to move out ever again, Keystone would only have that deed restriction on that unit A, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It runs with the property.
Cool. That's kind of what I thought, but I just want to double check. I know we had talked about Prop 123 allocations needed for our housing need assessment. Previously, the answer was leaning towards no, this would not count towards our allocations for the HNA, but was there a solid answer on that?
No, there wasn't, but maybe Lena can.
Sure, I can come up to the podium. Oh,
Miss Lena, did Michael catch you?
It'll pick you up.
okay.
You understand the question?
Yes,
or-
I do. Lena Lessons, Housing Director, Summit County Housing Department. So we would have to make sure that the BOCC agrees, because that is something we haven't asked them. Same thing with the priority question, but I do think that there is a way to allocate 1 unit to the town of Keystone for it to count to Prop 123. Again, I can stand up here and tell you guys that, but I do think that would need to be cleared with the BOCC, but I do think there is a path to do that.
Thank you very much, Lena.
Before you go, could you address the Prop 123? Somebody in the staff report, somebody referred to the fact that an informal DOLA signal was that to Habitat for Humanity was that the deed restriction for Keystone could indeed count toward our Prop 123. Okay, can anybody firm that up?
That's what she.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the BOCC approving the priority to Keystone.
So
Different
things that need to be approved by the BOCC.
Right. So BOCC would weigh in on both of those things?
Yes, correct.
Oh, so DOLA it's not the DOLA's decision, it's.
So it is DOLA's decision as well, but in order for us to have one of our units count for it to count for the town of Keystone, because that's one of our units. So it would count for you guys.
So you have to release it.
Exactly. So the BOCC would have to say that that's okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
And my last question, I understand that funding secured is tied to the release of this funds. Is there any asterisk of funding secured at current construction cost? And the reason I bring this up is I have PTSD from the sidewalk where I thought we were going to be at to where we spent at the end, and it increased, right? So just is there a way to tie the funding secured to the current projected construction cost?
If I may, on the sidewalk too, the construction costs were not off so much. It was the funding that we were going to have to supply when we were anticipating a multimodal fund grant from CDOT,
Okay.
Which they stopped giving out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, I'm trying to pull up what we discuss on proof of full project funding.
So, okay, so that would, in theory, regardless of if it's cost $5 million by the time they go to break ground, they would need to have the full project funding at that point.
Correct.
Okay, Awesome.
Any other questions, staff? Can I have a motion? Councilmember Higgino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move to approve resolution 2026-6, conditional approval, approving funding for the Soda Creek Habitat for Humanity project.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I really appreciate the work that you all have done, and you all
Turn it around really quickly.
Turn it around quick, but also like meet a lot of the questions that we had and kind of the hopes we had. So I look forward to seeing what the BOCC and further conversations down the road have. And this is awesome to see this come to fruition.
Councilmember Kerr.
Do you think these two questions that we're asking about that the BOCC will decide, would that come up at that April meeting or later?
It'll probably come up when we go back. I think it's gonna be at the end of March.
Okay. When you clarify that this is our contingent
Oh, sorry, the
commitment.
Yeah, we're gonna get them on that date. I think it's scheduled at the end of March.
Okay, thanks. I just can't see him.
And we'll be talking directly to them before that too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Before I call the question, I do want to point out that we had two council members who were featured in the Summit Daily today regarding the Summit, regarding this issue. I think it's a full-page spread. And Councilmember Hagenau's comment was actually highlighted in another portion of the paper.
Yay.
With that, I'll call the question. And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution is passed. And again, I'd like to thank Habitat, the board, and the Summit County for being here tonight and helping us go through this decision. And we appreciate the support. And I think we'll appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
The next item is under other, and it's the school district consolidation position letter. We did have a discussion on this in our work session. Then I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Okay, this, as we discussed in the work session, is a letter stating the position of the board on the possible closure of Summit Cove Elementary School as part of the Summit School District's consolidation plan. The council felt pretty strongly about this and appreciated the letter. I feel it would carry more clout if we had a full council, a motion to approve the letter and a full council vote, so that it's make it very clear that you're speaking for the entire council in town rather than some of the members of the council.
On that, if I might make a suggestion, at the bottom, it's signed by the mayor and on behalf of the Keystone Town Council. I would love to have it CC'd with all of our names there. And then that way it's a little bit more, it's the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a minor.
Signed by mayor and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's easy adjustment.
I don't.
I have to retype that line anyways, because I have to capital O in council. Maybe in the report, not in the letter.
Is there, any further discussion before we have a motion? Or have we?
I mean,
Remove.
Yeah, we need a motion.
That'd be good. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Question from her.
Yes,
Oh, just a comment and I'll offer you a motion
all
too.
right.
I just think this is a well-written document that reflects the hard work of all of us in fighting for the interests of our community identity and our children's future. So I am happy to offer a motion to approve a unanimous letter from the mayor and town council to the school district.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
a friendly amendment to adjust the verbiage. I think that this is
The CCs,
CC's.
the names.
I would like to echo what Councilmember Parmet, and I know that the work sessions are not necessarily minutes and recorded, but there was lots of conversation around the concern of the community aspect that this school or the potential closure of schools has for our community. And I just think it's paramount that we as a community and as a council support and advocate for those areas that are in our community, right? And would have the least impact on our community. So just to kind of get that into the record a little bit, if you will.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I will call the question of, listen, since everyone's involved, let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Kerr. Approve. Councilmember Martin.
Approve.
Councilmember Parmet.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approve.
Councilmember Allen.
Approve.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Absolutely.
There's 7 votes to approve.
Thank you. And as we finish the topic, I do want to point out that the actual verbiage that we just approved was actually written by the town manager. It incorporated a lot of ideas from other folks, but the verbiage was his, and I think it was excellent. Next item is, do you have any planning matters? That wouldn't be covered under report of town manager and staff?
You know, we could talk about the housing fund at this point, the contribution to the SCHA's.
Would that fall under other matters?
I think it could fall under either category. It'd be kind of nice to get the business all wrapped up. And it's just, for the record, I want to make it clear that the town council, and correct me if I'm wrong, is instructing me to make a contribution of $50,000 from the housing fund to the SCHA for their down payment assistance fund. Thank you. This money is in our budget that was passed in November.
That is my understanding of the ask, with the asterisk that we heavily advocate for proportional spending or ask moving forward. Is the only change I would say.
Perfect. Can I have a motion?
I would move to approve what the town manager just said.
Second.
So you're moving to approve, let me clarify, you're moving to approve the town's contribution of $50,000 to the Summit County Housing Authority's down payment assistance program, with the caveat that in the future, that such requests be limited to contributions based on
Proportional
proportional of sales tax revenues, SCHA revenue tax revenues.
You know, that's exactly what I was thinking, and thank you so much for rephrasing.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Kerr.
I'll just reiterate for anybody who didn't listen to the work session that the sense of the council was that this was our opportunity to make a near-term investment in making housing available for our employees or our fellow county residents.
Any other council member permit?
I think that the down payment assistance program is one of the best ways you can spend housing dollars.
Any other comments? Yeah. I guess I have to make a comment too then. I agree. I think it's one of the best ways to support the housing program. The council has directed staff this year and staff to go forward and develop a housing program for the town of Keystone. Because this request is coming in at the time it is, and we felt the urgency of it, we're really approving it tonight, this contribution. But in the future, I would expect that whatever contributions would probably fall under the entire umbrella of a housing program that's well crafted and approved by the council.
Yeah.
With that, any other comments or discussion? We have a motion. I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item has passed. And now, Mr. Town Manager, you may talk about planning matters or report of the town manager and staff.
I will do the town manager and staff, and I'm actually going to pass it off to Maddie here in just a second to talk about the election. We have 3 candidates for 4 vacant seats. I would very much like to have seen many more candidates, but don't read too much into this. You tend to have lots of candidates for local seats when there is a very controversial or hot button issue like Frisco, who has 12 candidates for their seats because they have a pickleball tennis conflict going on. So lack of candidates does not necessarily mean it can very often signify satisfaction with the way things.
Just wait, we can change them.
Yeah. But I'll let Maddie explain exactly what's happening, what our next steps are.
All right. So we received a little bit of an update about this at the last council meeting. Essentially, by the initial deadline for candidate affidavits or nomination petition packets, we had 3 candidates submit those nomination petition packets. Following that period, we had a deadline of February 2nd to receive any write-in affidavits. At the last town council meeting, we considered a resolution that said that if there were 3 candidates, the election could be canceled, which was pursuant to the ordinance passed last year, 2025-0-19. And so given at the end of February 2nd at 5 p.m., one of the candidates who submitted a nomination petition packet withdrew his candidacy. So that was Steve Martin. And we received 1 additional write-in affidavit from Christy Camp. So we had 3 total candidates, John Hagenow, Carol Kerr, and Christy Camp. So pursuant to that resolution, the ordinance passed last year and state statute, that meant that I was directed to cancel the election. So the cancellation notice went out on our website, and it was published as a banner right on the top so folks could see it that way. It went out to our emailing list, as well as it was published in the legal section of the Summit Daily last Friday. There are 2 components to canceling an election. The first piece of that is the resolution that was already passed by town council, and then a follow-up resolution will need to be passed appointing or declaring the candidates elected. So that resolution would be coming at an upcoming meeting. And then following the end of the term, we would need to appoint that final candidate.
Patty, or Ms. Seelu, would you agree that the election was canceled due to, quote, the lack of candidates?
Yes.
Yeah, the election, if it were held, would not change anything.
Yes.
Regardless of how the voting happened, unless the write-in candidate didn't get any votes.
And all she had to do was vote
All
for
she had to
herself.
do was vote for herself. It didn't affect the length of the terms. It didn't affect anything other than the time, cost, and expense of running an election.
And so the new terms start in April.
Start in April, and I'm going to correct our clerk on this. In April, when we officially have the vacancy, at that time, this council will have to decide whether to appoint someone or to hold
We can't do it beforehand.
a special. There is no vacancy.
Good point.
Yeah. Or hold a special election. Your town manager would strongly recommend going the appointment route, but that is your decision to make once the vacancy occurs.
Just to get our heads around it. So we'll make that decision at an April meeting and probably be looking at a May
Probably
process.
June,
Okay.
because
Okay.
I'm not sure when the election falls. So when the vacancy, well, 7 days. So it wouldn't be till the second meeting in April that we,
I think that they could be, I think they could be sworn in on the first.
Okay.
First meeting, April 14th, probably.
okay, I wasn't sure when.
Where we would decide about the appointment.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
but then you have to give people,
Yeah.
as we've seen, time.
Historically,
Come up
it's
interest.
2 months.
Historically, though, we haven't known 2 months out that a vacancy is going to be there. So I'm not advocating or trying to surmise what a future council might agree on, right? But I guess informally, could we start to talk about the vacancy that is going to happen, whether that's filled by a special election or an appointment, and maybe drum up some interest, and then whatever the process is to fill that in April, maybe we could be expedited instead of a lengthy process.
I'd recommend you drum up interest, but I'd also recommend that you make sure that someone who finds out about it come April
Sure,
has the ability to consider it and enter.
sure.
We don't want on April 14th to have all our candidates lined up to the exclusion of someone who might just be
Oh,
fine.
no,
By no means am I
Yeah.
suggesting.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
but good
I
clarification.
just don't think it should take 2 months from April 14th to make this decision.
But we have 3 meetings after. We have 1 more meeting in April and 2 meetings in May. There's a certain amount of time we want to give. And I think the town manager is basically saying expedite. I think he's trying to be realistic.
Expedite, but yeah, okay.
So I think we have to be very careful that this doesn't, any appointment that's made out of this wasn't sensed by the community as a done deal, that we'd already fixed this.
Understood, yes.
And I assume that this decision between a special election and appointment will be made by the new council.
Yes.
Correct,
So really nothing formally can occur till after that.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, so
Can I ask a question? So I know it was on the website. How else did we advertise the upcoming election? What, I guess the point is I'm getting at, right? We had less than the number of seats. And we're talking about advertising for that, for that vacancy. I just want to make sure advertisement is working, that people actually know. I know it's on the website and got sent out, but was this election, was it in the Summit Daily, Crystal 93 announced, hey, elections in April, here's deadlines, that kind of thing? I'm just curious because we've got less than the number that we wanted, and we want to make sure we're.
I'll throw it on Maddie on how we advertised for the positions, but I think we did.
Yeah, there was a joint ad in the Summit Daily that was like a 1/4-page ad from all of the towns, including the details for the candidate deadlines. And then also in the backyard pages, which is the weekly pages with all of the town's information. We included that in the header of our weekly announcements for that. It also is pushed out on all of the social media platforms for the town as well.
One of the things that I did hear,
Emails.
Yeah, no, but I was, part of the reason I brought this up is we didn't get the numbers that we wanted. So I just want to make sure it wasn't necessarily a marketing thing versus a lack of interest thing, because sometimes not knowing can cause that. So.
Well, I have 2 points. One, I agree with what Councilmember Allen said, and I made the comment to Councilmember Martin earlier, is a little disappointing to see the amount of turnout we've had in appointment sessions versus the actual election process, right? I mean, we're talking appointment sessions that, and I don't know what the last one had, but there was like 5 or 6, I think, right? And that alone would have been more than we had for this election. So that's just, I don't think necessarily we can do anything to fix that, but it's a little bit disappointing. One thing that I did hear from feedback from one of the people who collected a packet but did not end up submitting it was, and this person from a demographic perspective is living and working for Vail Resorts and living in employee housing, right? So a lot of their network and social circle is Vail Resorts employees. And a lot of those employees have not registered to vote in the town of Keystone. A lot of times these are transient folks and all this kind of stuff. So a suggestion, and I know the town staff does a lot, but is there a way that we can sponsor or try to get a voter drive of some sorts, right? And I know that a lot of times these are, and the town attorney might have some legal recommendation, but a lot of times I know that these come around for the national elections, right? When presidents are being elected and all this kind of stuff. There's the really big pushes for this, but like we have a small town, right? We have 1,000 registered voters, or give or take at this point. And I'd love to see everyone in town with an emphasis on the areas that have a super transient community, understand and be able to have the resources to change their voter registration if they'd like to. And I know it's easy to say, just run down to DMV and change your status, right? But a lot of these people don't have leases. They don't have insurance in their rental units. Like they don't have mail, right? So they can't prove their address. They don't have the things that the typical person would need to prove their voter registration or to change over their driver's license. So that's just, again, a consideration, a thing I'd like to bring up, because I would love for our community to be represented fully, right? And I think that there's a portion of the community that we talk about representing and try to represent, but don't actually have a lot of representation from them.
Sounds like a very good idea.
Yeah, and again, I don't know the answer, right? But it's just an ask if we can try to do a drive of some sort.
Yeah.
One small informational note, doing it online through the Secretary of State's website mitigates a lot of the need for some of those documentation pieces. So filling out that online voter registration form is actually going to be the easiest way for those people to do it. If you do a voter registration drive, that is something I looked into getting certified with the Secretary of State for back in December when we had this conversation. Doing the voter registration drive through the Secretary of State then requires those people to show the voter registration drive people those 2 forms of ID. If you fill it out online on the Secretary of State's website, it's a different process.
Is there a way that we can get that process communicated out?
Yeah.
Because like, again, the ID is the big issue, right? And it's not that these people are here, not that they're not supposed to be here. It's not anything like that. It's just, they don't have leases. They don't get mail. They don't have insurance on their units. So what are you supposed to use?
Not only that, maybe next year or next election, we can,
You don't get that.
when the packets can go out, we can host an event. If you're interested in any way in running or knowing more about how, so we can get 10 registered voters in here. So anyone who wants to run can pick up their packet that night and get their signatures taken care of that night. Okay, we're also, clerk is working on, we had our website accessibility audit, and we're making the corrections necessary for that. Community development, the comp plan is out for public feedback, closes February 20th. please encourage anyone you can to give feedback. As I mentioned earlier, I'll send a direct copy to Vail Resorts to get their feedback too.
Also, I would encourage all council members, if you have comments, submit that again by that 20th time period. It'll make it a lot easier for the staff to incorporate any changes.
And it will be coming back to you in March. Speaking of March, is Gabby still here? No. Is it March 3rd? Or March 4th, did we decide for?
March 4th.
March 4th. Okay, March 4th.
It's
Check your
supposed to be a
email.
secret.
He's not here.
He's right
He's
there.
right there.
Well, gosh darn it.
Read your email.
Go home.
I got to get rid of this program. Well, there's that surprise right out of it.
Yeah.
If you hadn't said what it was that we made the comment, please go home. You could have just stopped at March 3rd and 4th.
It'll still be a surprise. He'll forget all about it.
Geriatric.
We'll be having it here at approximately 4:30. Staff is going to go skiing and take Lindsay out for lunch that day. Then we'll come back. It'll be everybody, not just council and planning commission, but a lot of Lindsay's old county workers and friends like that too.
Good counsel, if they desire to go to lunch with the staff and Lindsay. Or they just have that.
No.
Let us.
Let's do your thing and then we'll do our thing.
Roasted, might be happy to participate.
We see that every day. Let me get back to you on that one. Okay, Public Works, we have already opened up discussions with CDOT about fixing the medians and moving their signs. Their sign especially. They did get the sign down there in the right place. It's unbelievable how many people have not seen the city limit sign at the intersection of.
I knew it was that. I still missed it.
I almost cracked up.
Finance, we have our lodging tax portal up and running, and apparently it's quite simple to use and we've had just minimal questions or problems with that. So it'll make it easier for anyone paying lodging tax and for staff dealing with lodging tax. So we're happy about that. December sales tax was up 12%.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then, so we now have mid-February, we have December. So this time next month, thereabouts, we'll know how January sorted out.
Yeah, and we're not
hoping for the best.
Not hoping for the best, but that 12% in December brought us just about to our budgeted numbers. Given the big mistake I made in projecting last January's income, that's
You don't have to
Year-over-year,
beat
there's
yourself
an
up.
increase.
yeah, that's a very nice situation where we're in there, and we definitely have enough of a cushion, regardless of, well, not completely regardless, but pretty much regardless of what happens in January and February numbers. The police will be back in March to talk about cameras. I've looked into noise cameras. They're not cheap.
No, it's a very immersion technology.
Yeah.
There's only a couple companies
The
do.
first wave.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say expensive.
And I think there's 2 towns in Colorado that are doing it,
Oh,
Boulder and Denver.
interesting. I didn't know
I
that.
didn't even know that. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. So,
Sent you a link.
but I think I'm not saying no noise cameras, but I think we need to very much, when we consider, differentiate between the Avis speed cameras and noise cameras, because we can get speed cameras out a whole lot quicker than.
And there's none that combine. Well, we'll talk about that later. Sorry.
Do you think we could reach out to Boulder or Denver to try
I
to?
certainly will reach out to Boulder. Yeah, when I was researching, I didn't see that either of them were doing that. So generally, it's at this point, the only towns around the world that have done noise cameras are large cities.
Okay. I found in my research, there were a couple smaller.
In one small town in Iowa,
I think I saw one on the East Coast and I think one in either New Mexico or Arizona, but and then several overseas. But I do think that, peace can be expensive, but it can be worth it.
Yeah, I'm not in any way saying we don't go forward. I'm just saying.
Can I ask do I know you said some people kind of complained. Do they complain about once a day, 3 times a day, 4 times?
5 a.m. every day,
Yes.
purple and green.
Yes.
I can tell you that I hear Jake break several times a night.
Can we have the discussion on Avis when we address Avis?
Just throwing that out there for now. We had our cast meeting last week. It was down in Salida. Councilmember Hagenau, the mayor, and I were there. I felt the election presentation was very informative, comparing the statistics in Mountain Resorts Town on who votes in off-year elections.
Who votes non-year elections?
Yeah.
It was fascinating analysis. I was going to mention that a little bit in my session. I thought that was probably the most interesting part of the presentation. And it's something, depending on what issue we want to bring in the future, that may go to the voters, that we may want to hire the company like Magellan to do some polling for us to assess the language and the actual whether the community has an appetite for it.
Well, and one of the fascinating parts about that presentation was they talked about all this post-result polling, right? Like when initiatives either failed or succeeded, right? Doing polling up to the fact, I'd like to know before the initiative what the community feels. And I think that was a big takeaway for me is not being rear view focused, right? But being forward focused.
And
May I quick? So was there a handout or a PowerPoint associated with that?
I have the slides.
Sounds fascinating. Be great.
And the CAS legislative meeting and dinner is March 12th. If anyone is interested down in Denver, you can sign up for that. We had the mayors, managers, commissioners, as we said, a lot of talk about school consolidation and legislative issues is pretty much all we talked about there. Mountain Energy Project, I will have a report for our next meeting on all the offsets, the help that Excel is giving for conversions to electrify homes and businesses. I'll have a report on where we are with all of that. So it's a lot of money that can go up here. There's some requirements about it too, though. So we'll talk about it next meeting. CML, we've already talked about. Their legislative workshop is coming up on the 19th. I know Councilmember Kerr was planning on going. I want to talk a little bit about planning notices. You may have received emails this week complaining about planning notices, providing bad links, not giving the information that they're supposed to have. On the letters we send out, there were 2 links. One went to the application materials, which were online, and the other goes to the meeting website, similar to your town council meeting website. The planning and zoning meeting is February 19th. The packets are not uploaded until shortly before the meeting, similar to council meetings. So there was no attempt in any way by staff or anyone to keep information from the public about issues that are coming up. That information was available in one place, and staff reports will be available when they're produced in plenty of time for the public to review before the meeting occurs.
Is there a way, and I don't know how the law works around the public noticing, but is there a way to include that the timeline in which these are published? Because I mean, we're looking at 9 days out right from that meeting, but if it's within 24 hours or more than 24 hours from the meeting, can we say something to that effect?
The law requires us, and correct me if I'm wrong, attorney, just to notify the topic.
Yeah, but not everyone knows the law, right? So is there a way that we can highlight that aspect of the law?
Well, we want to go above and beyond the law. We put out our so they can see what's
Does that,
the report.
maybe this is a different way to ask that.
Yeah.
Does that email notification that went out or whatever it was, does it clarify that the meeting materials would be uploaded, 48 hours ahead of, or something like that? So it's not to create that, oh, I got to a dead end.
Yeah, if it just has a link and you click the link and there's nothing there, there could be confusion there.
But there, on that email, the communication that went out, there was a specific link to our website for all of the application materials. And that's the only information really that you're going to get. The real information is the application materials, not the planning commission.
We want to.
So that link,
yeah, and
it did work.
we want to be careful in the information we're putting in notices, because the notice requirements are very clearly legally defined. And if we put a message in one notice and for some reason don't put it in another notice.
Well, if I get somewhere and there's no meeting materials and it says click here for meeting materials, can we put up a thing that says materials aren't posted yet or materials not available yet? Is there a way that we can, so you don't think that, so that the
Yeah, we can put something on the top of our meeting pages that says
That is
generally
all of our
it
meetings.
is on the top of our meeting pages. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, good job.
I just wanted to be clear, though, that staff followed all the laws and actually went above it and beyond.
And I provided the person with the complaint with the instructions for how to actually find the media materials.
Moving on, Gabby will be reaching out to you. I think it's important that we put up photos of our council members now that we pretty much have a town hall.
Oh, like in the hallway?
Like in the hallway. So that people, when they see you in the grocery store, can identify you.
But that's why we wear our jackets.
Until you see my picture.
And Kindred had a good discussion with the developers of Kindred this week, yesterday, I guess. Things are starting to look up for a March, at least partial opening of quite a bit of, certainly the hotel, most of the West Tower, the West Plaza, and some of the commercial space. So we're keeping our fingers crossed here. Big engineering and building inspections happening tomorrow. The inspector feels fairly confident about everything. Many of the units and areas and spaces have been finalized already. So we could have some March.
So I know I asked this previously, but I'm going to continue to ask. With the delayed opening of Kindred, I know that the tax revenues is obviously consideration and the budget was built considering some aspect of Kindred opening or not, right? But while we also look at the delay or the slowdown in our economy due tied to the snow, right? Like what impact, if any, are we anticipating with the budget? A, with Kindred being delayed, and B, as a compounding factor, the slowdown in the economy due to the slow. snow.
We did not budget for a dime of Kindred sales tax.
Which is what I thought the answer was.
Yep.
Just going to add to remind us every month.
Well, and more so, it's like that was the Kindred not being budgeted, and the revenue we were going to get from the Kindred is going to soften the blow from the slowdown in the economy due to snow.
If we had one.
If we have one, but I guess I'm just being crystal. Are we not concerned about that at all right now? Where we stand
at this point, we're always concerned. The staff is concerned. Council, you guys shouldn't be concerned yet.
No, council will be concerned anytime there's a potential slowdown.
Yeah.
No.
But we don't have any evidence yet. We are remain wary.
And we have a significant fund surplus. We have significant budgeting. I don't want to call them shortcuts, but things that are budgeted that we don't necessarily have to do.
Sure.
And can easily be slashed.
Simply, no, not concerned. Or not materially concerned.
Not materially concerned.
Thank you. No. I trust.
Yeah. And if Kindred does open, not concerned at all. And Kindred is going to open in March.
Thank you.
And that's all I have from my manager's report.
All right. Any reports from any of the council members?
I have a couple questions of the town manager.
Sure.
I'm sorry he's got called away, but I wanted to say that I'm sure I'm not the only one who appreciates when Chief Osborne comes to our meetings and is willing to weigh in when we need him. So that's awesome. And I know we've had a couple of periodic reports and I haven't tracked mentally when they are. Will we be seeing periodic, like monthly or quarterly statistics and assessments?
I believe he said he was going to do that, and Chief will be back giving another report in March.
Okay.
Too. So
Okay.
I'll
But
make
you
sure.
talk to him regularly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I talk to him
Okay.
pretty much daily.
All right. Any reports of council members or council members? Councilmember Sullivan.
Real quick, just announced, I guess, I haven't spoken with him yet. Tyree Stewart will be the new postmaster.
Hey, Dylan.
Dylan, reviewing it, could discuss enhanced delivery thing, but we're kind of starting over on some of those things. The better news is the zip code that it's in committee, but they're trying to what they call hotline the bill, which is means that it's really avoids the big broad discussion in the Senate. USPS is trying to stop that, but they're trying to hotline that bill, which would mean zip code consideration for Keystone. And then the last comment on postal things is that Tyree said, and he told this to another individual, one of the heads of an HOA, that we're now kicking around a post office again. I'll check on that first before I get too excited, but that's what he told an HOA member, so president. So anyway, that's the post office.
The new guy.
Yeah.
You're most dangerous in a new job in your first 6 months, and certainly you're most in the first 30 days. You don't know what you don't know.
Right. Now I'm apprehensive.
Councilmember Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the town manager mentioned, the mayor, the manager, and myself were able to attend the CAF meeting in Salida a few weeks ago at this point. There were several interesting points. Some of the ones that I noted down, or presentations, some of the ones I noted down as more so interesting than the others was a focus on a missing middle housing project in Fristo specifically, so in our backyard. Lots of different strategies and how they were able to get to this. I won't bore you with the details, but again, the presentation and a lot of the information is available on the CAST website. Another area that was really interesting was recent trends in ballot initiatives. And specifically how voters are starting to get tired of quote nickel and diming. And so a lot of these like small little tax increases. And I just think to one of our neighbors in county here that has like 5 different taxes on their final bills of hotel stays, right? Like people are getting tired of that nickeling and diming that's occurring. And so that's something we should definitely keep into consideration if we ever do look to go to the voters with some tax potential tax increases, right? Is that generally the sentiment is against additional taxes, or even if they're small little percentages. And so that's what we were talking about with Magellan strategies, that might be good to understand where that goes. And one of the examples they used was STR lodging tax in Vail being denied in November of 2025, an increase to that. So that's just one example of how I think that the consumers are getting a little bit frustrated with continually using STR as a funding source. And then another thing that was interesting during one of the presentations was talking about approvals for certain services. So some are seen as like super hard to get approved. And one of them is public safety. So kudos to us for being able to get the public behind some of that. And some of those easier ones, such as fire, EMS, road services, are on that quote easier side of that. That's a very, very, very high level of those. And then the last one I wanted to talk about was our superintendent, as well as some representatives from CMC were down there and highlighting some programs at the CMC college here in county that has with our school district. And so some pathways to technical career opportunities there. And it was really interesting to hear about those.
Councilmember Parman.
I just had to look, and then I think it's worth saying for anyone listening that we have a 2% STR tax. They'll turn down a 6% increase on top of an existing 10.8, which would have made it 16.8. Yep. So I don't know if that's nickel and diming. That seems more like Benjamin than.
Right. Yeah. And
Thank you, Councilmember Parman.
I wasn't going to comment, but again, putting things in perspective in Summit County, our total tax on lodgings is 8.35 of Breck's 12.6-ish. Of Dillon, I think, is approaching 20 now. Silverthorne's at 17. Frisco is approaching 20. Of nickel and diming in our part probably it pales. I think there was a larger tax on lodging in Salida than we have in Keystone.
Oh. Their fees, I believe. They can't have taxes. But
Roses are roses, right?
Petition from the voters.
Yeah. Well, statutory version.
So they can.
You can do an occupation tax for lodging.
Yeah. They can. Blue River does in their statutory. Enough. Anything else? Yeah, the only, I won't go into more details. There was a tour of 3D printing for housing in Salida. I found that interesting. They've got the cost right now. They think about $500 a square foot for building cost. To be competitive, they probably need to get down to $350-ish a square foot. But it's brand new technology. It'll be interesting to see where that goes in the future. And in our session with Shannon, or the Resort Jam yesterday, we did talk about NBS. Their opening ceremonies are going to be on the 1st of March in the afternoon. And the Vail CEO, Rob Katz, right now is scheduled to speak. So it will be it's good to see the Vail CEO coming into Keystone multiple times. I know he was here earlier, I believe, for the board of directors meeting that they had. So at least we're getting some visibility at the senior level.
What opportunities, I know the ask from council previously was like what opportunities we could have to be involved in this.
They have not asked for any council participation, although you're invited to the opening ceremony.
And the president of NBS is currently in Milan, Cortina, watching his son on the Jamaican team.
Cool.
So he's been a little distracted.
He's been distracted, which is part of the issue with responses. So, all right, that's all I had. Any other matters that we need to discuss today? Councilmember Kerr.
Still on the report of council. The marketing committee put out a bunch of, I shouldn't say a bunch of, it doesn't make it sound very good. They put out some press releases. You may be hearing from Crystal 93 Mayor, maybe you already have, with respect to the second anniversary. If you responded to my email request, I put your name on a letter to the editor for the Summit Daily, sent it last week, essentially thanking the town for our successful 2-year anniversary. They haven't printed it, and I don't know what that means. So I'd love to think that means they're going to do something.
I believe they only print it on print their letters to the editors on certain days. And I didn't see any letters on Monday or.
There's one that's up tonight and it's not ours.
Oh, all right. Tonight or was it in today's paper?
I just saw it online.
Yeah, it's probably tomorrow's the date for publication.
And that's close enough. We had 4 people. Ron and I went to council member. Alan and I went to coffee with council on first Monday at Steep. Thanks again to Steep for hosting. I thought we had good discussions. We had a cross-section of second homeowners and employees. Post office is an evergreen topic. We had really positive comments about the comp plan. 3 to the 4 had read it. Yay. And there was some concern about a light at tennis courts, which I'll bring to your attention, John. I did
Tennis courts or Tennis Club Road?
Tennis Club Road. Yeah, thanks. Apparently when you pull out of there to turn left, it doesn't always work.
The crossing traffic line.
Yeah. So
No, crossing traffic.
I'll just pass it to our town manager to look into.
I think the concretes or the asphalt's crumbled there. And so I think the weighted sensor, and so it cycles through, and the report was people get out of the car and go push the pedestrian button to then get a green light so they can turn.
Oh.
So I appreciated some feedback that we might not already know about, and we'll talk. I did a gut check with members of the council about looking into a venue for an evening event in early March and maybe do the town hall one in April, since March would be our last opportunity for an après ski. I don't know, Maddie, if you've had opportunity to look into that yet.
I've tentatively reached out to Rotolo's and they're checking with the manager.
Okay, awesome.
So one thing to keep in mind, if we're looking at the first week of March and the opening ceremonies for NBS is March 1st, we're probably going to have a lot of competition for space in town in general.
That first week of March is going to be,
I don't know the schedule. I'm just
we're
throwing.
talking over 1,000 people from NBS that are going to be skiing. And I know the restaurants in town are absolutely slammed that week.
Which is great.
Which is great.
And they will be here the whole first week.
Yep.
So does this mean, I think it'd be great to have an après ski evening. And I have heard that Keystone is looking at ending operations as of Easter weekend, which I think is the 5th of April. So are we open to having an evening event other than the first week?
Yes.
I think we're almost pushed into it. If you will, Maddie, thank you for your
As long as
assistance
you
on
haven't
this.
announced the other.
No, I'm trying to get ahead of that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd recommend that we not hold one until at the earliest, the end of March because of spring break. Hopefully, we'll have a lot of visitors in town with the spring break weekend, or spring break weeks.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we might have to look into.
No, you could do it last week of March, first week of April.
But if the operations are closing down that first.
But But you do it first week of April when they're still open.
It probably will come down to what one of our vendors is willing to support. Thank you.
Any other reports of council? All right. Other matters? Any other matters?
Come up.
Haven't had enough night.
Marks on the wall.
15 minutes. All right, in that case, if no other business to discuss, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are adjourned.